Hey crafty friends, this is Chelsea. In today's video, I'm going to be doing some stash diving and also using something new. So I think that's a fun way to use up your stash sometimes is get something new and then pull in things maybe that you haven't used for a long time to help make the project. So the new item is this Number Balloons Stamp and Thin Cut set. This is actually the focus of a class that I taught this May for the Creative Design Team membership. It was a one stamp 3 ways class. Of course, knowing me, there's more than 3 ways, but I wasn't quite done with this set yet. So I'm going to be making another layout with it today. So this is a really fun set. It has all these numbers that you can use either as balloons. They have like the highlight marks on them. And then they have all the balloon strings, the little like balloon tie with a little bow, and then lots of like confetti and sparkles and things that you could add to kind of like celebration cards or layouts. And what I really like is that these don't have the little like balloon end already on them, which means you can use them for other things. Just makes them way more flexible. And that's how I'm going to use them today. I'm not using them as balloons. So I had these 3 pictures of my daughter playing. This was like her new little like counting toy where you like match up all the like images with the wood numbers and then you count all the rings up to that number. And so it's all about numbers, so I thought that would go perfectly with the number balloons. And then I had pulled out this Something Fierce collection. I was already working with this for my class. This is an old collection that I still had in my stash. It definitely has like a dinosaur theme to it, but lots of really fun, bright colors. You can kind of see here all the different colors. So all the embellishments in this line were more very like celebration and dinosaur centric. But there's a lot of really good neutral patterns. I have a whole bunch of scraps, so I'm going to be digging into this for the layout today. For today's layout, I'm actually going to use pattern paper for my base. This is from that same collection, and it has this really subtle kind of gray pattern on it. I don't know how to describe that pattern, but it's pretty subtle. And so instead of my go-to of white cardstock, I'm going to use that as my base. And I have a lot of scraps left over from this collection. So I think what I want to do is have several scraps in the middle and kind of make like a little shelf for my photos to sit on top of. These are 3x4s and then I've matted them with white cardstock. So I'm just gonna kind of stack these up here, bringing in some of the same colors that are in my photos. And then I have a little piece of the zip strip here. I think this is a little bit too high. I want to move this whole kind of grouping down a little bit. So my idea is to have my title and journaling at the top, my photos in the middle, and then along the bottom, that's where the numbers come into play. So I've gone ahead and stamped and die cut these on colors of cardstock that match my photos and match the colors in this collection. It's really nice that the back side of Close to My Heart cardstock, there's a true color side and then there's a lighter version. So between the 2 sides, you can kind of pick which shade works the best. So I've gone ahead and stamped these all out into a rainbow. And I'm just gonna lay them out here along the bottom. I wanna do kind of like a border along the bottom. And I love that these all have matching dies, which made them super easy to cut out. And I debated whether I wanted to like add some doodling or stamp some pattern in them. But I think with the rainbow of colors and then all the patterns and stuff that I have going up here with some fairly busy photos, I think that will be enough. What I was thinking about doing, and I started doing it here, was using a white gel pen. This is a medium of the Jelly Roll pen, and just filling in those highlights with a little bit of gel pen. So I decided to cut this out on my Cricut. This is the Autumn in November font cut on Lagoon cardstock with an offset of white cardstock. And this says, "Count with me." And I want it kind of overlapping the top of my photos just a little bit. I like that this font is uneven, so it kind of works with the offset of my photos. And then I was thinking about stamping 1, 2, 3. So it would be 1, 2, 3, count with me. I thought that had a really nice ring to it. And I thought that would make a cute little title for this page. But then I was trying to decide if I wanted to put the numbers on like a little piece of cardstock or if I'm going to stamp them right on the background. So I'm just going to go dig through my alphabet collection and see what I can come up with. All right, so I found this one. It's called Magical Alphabet, and then also the Chocolate Alphabet, because what I was looking for was a little dash or a dot or something to put in between the numbers. And then I thought this one would work good because they're really chunky numbers and really solid, and I think that would be bold enough to stand out on the pattern paper. Hopefully that will work. So both of these are long retired, but I encourage you to go look in your alphabet stash. I don't use my alphabets as much as I should, so it's always fun when I can get them out and put them to use. So I went ahead here and stuck these onto blocks. I have 1, 2, 3, and then the little dash to go in between. And I'm going to pull out a sticky note so that I can practice my stamping and just get these all seasoned up. Okay, I'm definitely going to have to do a better job of stamping, but I just want to cut this down and see how this looks in that spot. So if I'm careful, I can pretty much get it to perfectly fit. Maybe if I mark it with a pencil would be a good idea, and then take this word away so that I know between what I need to stamp to get it to fit in there. I think that might be the best way, because I could have put these closer together than I did. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and stick these pieces down except for my title, and then we can come back and do the stamping. So I'm going to pull out my T-ruler here and my pencil and just try and give myself some little guidelines to hopefully get this somewhat straight. I do find it a little bit trickier with the busy pattern paper, and I'm working quite far out in front of myself. I was trying not to get my head in the way of the camera, but it's pretty tricky when you're trying to line things up and your page is like way out in front of you. So I got my line a little bit too high here. I'm going to move that down. And I am going to end up using black. I'm using intense black because the Bluebird just wasn't quite dark enough for me. So I think I'm going to go with black, and I'm going to end up stamping it off camera. Actually, I filmed it, but my head was in the way most of the time. My 3 there, I got it a tad lower than I wanted, but I decided to just leave it and keep going with my design. So I grabbed these flowers, Cherished blossoms. They are an older set, but they are still on the website, so I will link those down in the description along with all the other supplies I'm using that are still linkable. I want to create 2 floral clusters on my page. I felt like it needed some embellishment, so I'm using raspberry ink here and lemon ink to create a couple of flowers. I'm also going to bring in green apple and Lagoon. Now this is an older paper pack, and actually it used willow as the color, but green apple is fairly similar. I love how whimsical these flowers and leaves are. That's why I chose this set. If you have like the doodled floral set, that would also be a good option. This isn't really my typical flower style. I like the really realistic flowers, but that's why it's good to have a variety of things, because this definitely fit the feeling of my page, the colors, the patterns, everything that I was using. And you can see this one right here has both a flower and a leaf on it, so I decided to stamp it in the yellow first and then roll it in the green, and actually that worked out pretty good. I went ahead and die cut these with the coordinating dies and make some little kind of L-shaped clusters that wrapped around the corners of my photos. Now, none of this was stuck down. I played with it for quite a while to get it looking how I wanted it. So I grabbed some Glad Press and Seal. This is a trick that I've known for a long time, but I often forget it. This time I remembered because I did not want to have to take these clusters apart. So I used the Press and Seal to pick it up. And then I'm going to add some of my glue on there, all the spots that are visible. And if not everything gets covered, you can always add a little bit more to your top flower if you need to. But I like that it's clear and allows for really easy placement of your cluster. and it's pretty fast. Off camera, I did decide to put some orange into my clusters. I was just going to go with the raspberry and the lagoon, but it was looking a little bit flat. It needed one more color to kind of pop in there. So I grabbed some nectarine ink. So the orange that you're seeing, that is nectarine, and just added a couple of small flowers and then the one larger flower to that bottom cluster. And I like how that turned out, just brightened up those clusters a little bit. Now on this big cluster, I do decide that I want a little bit of dimension. The one at the top had to go under part of my title there, so I wanted all of that flat. Down here at the bottom, there's nothing that needs to layer over top of it. So I'm going to stick most of this down with glue, and then I am going to add some foam tape to that largest flower, the lagoon teal flower there, and then also to my little orange flower. It kind of just adds a little bit more dimension to the cluster, makes it a little bit more interesting, and I'm glad I went ahead and did that. So now I've been planning to add my story in the upper right hand corner, and I grabbed out my journaling strip stickers. I love these things. They're already pre-cut, they're sticky, so all you have to do is write out your journaling and then you can cut them down into whatever length of strips that you want. So I'm just kind of figuring out how long I want them to be here, eyeballing it, and kind of how many chunks I need to cut this journaling up into. I like to put them down just lightly at first, and then they're easy to move around until I get them exactly where I want them, and then press them down fully onto the paper so that they're not peeling up. I also decided I wanted to add the date on there, so just figuring out where that's going to go. And then I'll press everything into place, and it's time for my finishing touch, which is going to be some sparkle. So I thought I was pretty much done, but then I decided I wanted a little bit of a twinkle in there, so I'm adding some sparkles and then some bitty sparkles. They're super tiny little rhinestones, and that will just finish off my page. If you've enjoyed watching this come together, if you could give me a thumbs up, I'd really appreciate it. It helps out my channel. And let me know in the comments, what is your favorite way to use stamps on a layout? I have lots of different things I'd like to do, and actually at the end of this video, I will link another video where I share a whole bunch of layouts that give you a bunch of ideas of how you can use stamps on your pages. It's hard for me to believe that I used to almost never stamp on my scrapbook layouts, because now I do it so much. And I'd love for you guys to get more out of your supplies. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.